Welcome to Unity in the Community. I have my very best friend, longtime friend from forever ago, since high school, with me, joining me. We've been friends for such a long time, and it's like our friendship has gotten sweeter and sweeter. It's like a good wine as we get older. But my friend Sephra, can you talk about how we've met, about our friendship and just kind of why we're even doing a podcast?
Sure, yeah. So Cassie and I met in actually Cassie was junior high school. It
It
was
was.
seventh grade.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Knight's computer literacy class.
True,
So
true.
shout out Mr. Knight and his rainbow suspenders. If he's
Right.
still with us to watch our podcast, that would be awesome.
Oh, yeah, that
Look
would.
at how computer literate we are now.
Or not. But yeah. So, and what's cool about it is as our friendship has grown, we have our other friend. We call ourselves the three chord strand, and a friend from high school as well, junior high. Golly. Yep.
Junior high,
Uh,
yeah.
and we do this. We have a text message thread that we literally message each other scriptures, we message each other new videos with content and information that we're needing to know about and stuff. And so it's just a really cool friendship, and that's why we call ourselves the three chord strand. What about our Bible reading stuff that we do that's not like normal nowadays? It's sad, but it's not normal.
So in our little group, the three chord strand, we encourage each other and we read the Bible cover to cover,
Yeah.
starting in Genesis all the way through Revelation, the entire Bible cover to cover, every word, which is something that people, you can tell by just scrolling through your social media who is reading it and who is not, because once you've read it and those words live in your mind, it's very easy to tell what is actually someone's idea or what's actually in the word. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'd love for Kendi to join us. So I'm gonna just put a little plug in there for her
Me too.
that one of our podcasts, she's gonna have to just jump right on
She
in.
definitely does. She's got a wealth of information. She's like
Mhm.
a deep well full of information. So, okay, well, let's get started. We want to talk about AI, Mars, and immortality. There was an interview done. So, they did a full hour-long interview with Peter Thiel. And we're going to do a reaction video. Many of you who've been on my YouTube page, Unity in the Community 316, please, if you're coming on, definitely go to Unity in the Community 316 on YouTube and subscribe, because the more subscribers, we can actually post these videos and more videos like this live, and so you can interact with us and we can have that little chat going on. But I have to get enough subscribers for that, so definitely go there and go to the YouTube page and subscribe. But so we were on my YouTube page, I did a little clip about Mars. What does Mars mean anyway? And that was a clip from this interview, and we're going to do a full reaction to most of it. So, Sefer, tell us a little bit, why are we talking about Peter Thiel? Who is he? What is Mars, and who is Peter Thiel?
Yeah, so Peter Thiel is super relevant to everything that's happening within our government right now.
Yeah.
He is a huge investor into things like AI. He originally became kind of received his wealth and his fame by being Elon Musk's business partner in PayPal.
Mm.
Do their own business ventures. Most notably of Peter Thiel's business ventures, he's a venture capitalists that invest into a lot of different Silicon Valley startup businesses, but most notably is his business, which is Palantir Technologies. And Palantir Technologies is just was awarded $100 million contract with the DoD. They've worked with the Department of Defense for over 10 years. Helping like the CIA. So 10 years ago, started working with the government. The idea of the name Palantir comes from the Lord of the Rings series, which refers to a crystal ball type of way of being able to see the future that was used in the Lord of the Rings. And essentially that's what the services that they provide to our government. Working with the CIA, they were able to collect data on potential threats in other countries, be able to collect data on other governments and try to consolidate all of this data and make a profile picture of who is a country that's a threat or an organization, terrorist group that is a threat. And they've been using the data collection services of Palantir to be able to do that. And we'll talk much more about what Palantir is actually doing in the government right now and why it is so important that they stand to benefit from a $750 million contract that's on the table for them to start to work with the Trump administration. And we'll be talking more about what the Trump administration has tasked them to do.
Wow. Okay, well, let's get started on it. If you're going to pull up the podcast yourself, just to give a reference, I believe it's Opinion who did the interview, and it's called AI, Mars, and Immortality. Are we dreaming big enough? Interesting time.
This was the rough conversation was, Demis tells Elon, I'm working on the most important project in the world. I'm building a superhuman AI. And Elon responds to Demis, well, I'm working on the most important project in the world. I am turning us into interplanetary species. And then Demis said, well, my AI will be able to follow you to Mars. And then Elon sort of went quiet. But again, it's...
What does Mars mean?
Well, is it just a scientific project, or is it, I don't know, is it like Heinlein,
a vision of a new society?
Yeah, Heinlein,
populated by
many libertarian people paradise
descended
or something
from
like this.
Elon Musk.
Well,
right,
I don't know if it was concretized that specifically, but if you concretize things, then maybe you realize that Mars is supposed to be more than a science project. It's supposed to be a political project. And then when you concretize it, you have to start thinking through, well, the woke AI will follow you, the socialist government will follow you. And then...
Okay, so the woke AI. Artificial intelligence seems like one, if we're still stagnant, it's the biggest exception to stagnation.
Yes.
It's the place where there's been remarkable progress, surprising to many people progress. It's also the place, we were just talking about politics, it's the place where the Trump administration is, I think, to a large degree, giving AI investors a lot of what they wanted in terms of both stepping back and doing public-private partnerships. So it's a zone of progress and governmental engagement. And you are an investor in AI. What do you think you're investing in?
Yeah.
Basically, what Peter Thiel is talking about is Elon Musk's vision to go to Mars. And this is what he's talked about for several years. And so he's asking the question, what is Mars?
Yeah.
And my question is, why do we want to go to Mars? Why in this version of America that we live in right now, where you can hardly, most people are struggling to be able to buy homes, struggling to be able to put groceries on their table, struggling to be able to just, meet the essential needs of their families. why do we need to, unless you're Katy Perry, right?
Right.
Why do you need to go? Why now? Why Mars? Why do we have this idea of even going to Mars? Why are these? Why Blue Origin? Why Elon Musk? Why any of them? Why do they want to go to Mars? Why are these billionaires building bunkers
Right.
out in New Zealand and other countries?
Well, they even say this, not that I'm calling anyone a demon, but even the demons believe, you know? So it's like they've become privy to some inside information, which is not so inside. I mean, we all, if we've read our Bible front to back, then we could kind of know some of those answers as to why they're doing this. But it's just,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the average, modern day Christianity church member is, like wondering like if revelation is real or not, or if it's actually going to happen. But you have billionaires that are willing to invest in underground bunkers. They believe that something is going to happen on this earth.
Right.
They're trying to get off this earth and go to Mars. So, that those trips to Mars are not for you and me. Those trips
Not.
to Mars are not for people who are, trying to support their families and work. These are for elite billionaires.
And that's what the interviewer said. I think he said it like this. He said, "Is it for Elon Musk and all of his Elon Muskians?" He was like his little, minions or whatever, So, and it's crazy. I don't know if he did it yet, but he mentioned that he had to conquer some things on Earth before going to Mars, which was a budget, which was the Doge. And I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, why did he have to come conquer politically before he could bring the new,
Yeah, probably to obtain the funding. I mean, I'm sure it probably cost a tremendous amount of money to the point where you would need government type of funding to be able to
and
continue.
backing.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't take a whole group of people anywhere without the government really backing it, and that's the other thing. So, what do you think about the new backing of the current administration with the big, beautiful bill and whatnot concerning the new partnerships with private industries and some investments, federally, privately towards AI?
So again, just as much as we're asking the question, why do we want to go to Mars? Why do we want to have $1 billion investment into AI? And why do we want to have these huge warehouses that are, starting to take over? And this, a hot topic in Abilene, Texas, they're building this several 100,000 feet plant to house AI servers, and
Yeah, it's
take
just
the
kind of taking over
resources
Texas.
away from the people who live there, taking the resources away from the community, like their water supply, their, electricity. I mean, that's not an area that has like a population that can handle this influx of people coming in to work at this plant. It's just, why do we want in the first place to have this?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely something. Well, it's because we don't want China to get so far ahead of us. We're trying to catch up to China concerning.
That's what they say, but where's the proof of what China's doing? I mean, it's not something that we talk about.
Yeah. I think they have a little fly that can see. That's AI. I don't know, a little fly drone is what I heard. But and then another thing I heard, there's a guy named Jeff Brown who's a AI investor as well, and he's been talking about. He said AI is going to literally come off of your screen and become a a persona manifested right before your eyes. So to me, that seems like holograms of AI everywhere. And he was like, AI is coming into our world now. And that's supposed to happen next week. Like there's big announcements that are supposed to be coming out. So I don't know, but it's happening fast and furiously. It's
Yeah, I have a lot to say about the AI robots and these things that Elon Musk is building, but I feel like that's a whole other podcast. I could
and
probably
it's not
do a
just
whole deep dive
him.
for you on
Mark
that.
Mark's Facebook, Meta, all of them are all getting into it, and they're all racing. It's not just Elon, so it's all of them really trying really fast. So okay, let's push play.
One question we can frame is just how big a thing do I think AI is? And it's, I don't know, my stupid answers, it's more than a nothing burger, and it's less than the total transformation of our society. So my placeholder is that it's roughly on the scale of the internet in the late 90s, which is, I'm not sure it's enough to really end the stagnation. It might be enough to create some great companies. And, the internet added maybe a few percentage points to the GDP, maybe 1% to GDP growth every year for 10, 15 years. It added some to productivity. And so that's sort of roughly my placeholder for AI. It's the only thing we have. It's a little bit unhealthy that it's so unbalanced. This is the only thing we have. I'd like to have more multidimensional progress. I'd like us to be going to Mars. I'd like us to be having cures for dementia. If all we have is AI, I will take it. There are risks with it. There are dangers with this technology.
So you're a skeptic. But then you are a skeptic of what you might call the sort of superintelligence cascade theory, which basically says that if AI succeeds, it gets so smart that it gives us the progress in the world of atoms. That it's like, all right, we can't cure dementia. We can't, figure out how to build the perfect factory that builds the rockets that go to Mars, but the AI can. And at a certain point, you pass a certain threshold, and it gives us not just more digital progress, but 64 other forms of progress. It sounds like you don't believe that, or you think that's less likely.
Yeah, I somehow don't know if that's been really the gating factor.
What does that mean, the gating factor?
A half an hour into this interview, and the first 30 minutes of this interview is Peter Thiel just going on and on, talking about how he believes that we as a society have come to this point of stagnation whenever it comes to development of infrastructure or just the things that he brings up, like the idea that in the Jetsons, like we should be living in the Jetsons times, or we should be living in, well beyond the way that it was presented to us through Back to the Future. And that he has this notion that like ever since like the 1990s, we've kind of lived in this state of like stagnation when it comes to innovation until now. And just a couple of things. One thing that the interview is talking about is regulation on AI and kind of advocating for the importance of it, but like Thiel's just kind of blazing past it. And one thing to remember when the beautiful bill just passed, a week ago, that there was a clause in the big beautiful bill that no state or local entity could have, it was like for a moratorium on AI regulation, meaning that for 10 years, no state or local entity would be able to have any kind of regulatory oversight of AI. These big AI, plants like in Abilene would have no oversight for 10 years. This was written into that bill. It was taken out in the amendments right before it passed and went to the desk for signing. but yeah, it was written in that bill, and the question is like, who is in the ear? Who are the lobbyists that are in the ear of our Congress putting these things into the bill? And I mean, that should be very sinister to any American that would like to see oversight with AI.
Yeah, no regulations on it at all. No monitoring it. Just, I mean, free game, free reign.
Right, free reign. Be
And
able to.
that's just crazy. That's insane. And I'm glad that it got caught. And I guess, I mean, these bills, I've been starting to like read a lot of bills and whatnot, and they like to slip those things in there, and they make you think it's a big beautiful bill, and it's got all kinds of, we're both conservatives, it's got all kinds of conservative stuff in it, and then all of a sudden it's got this like and so that's what I think they were trying to do, but who's they even? Like,
right.
Who was it?
That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could figure it out. So maybe we'll give them the answer next time who they was. But I'm also interested in who is they that caught it, and we're able to say, no, we're going to want this amended, So I don't know. So as it's coming, it's taking over Texas by the cities. I wonder if there's other places, in other states that are seeing, hey, they're building up a big old AI farm, that's in our backyard. I want to know if there's other places, because Texas sure is feeling it. And I wonder, if we didn't get the memo that we can regulate them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, things that people need to really take into consideration, especially if you live in Texas and they're proposing an AI infrastructure to be built in your backyard. In order to run that many servers, it takes a tremendous amount of not only energy, but also water power to be able to. They use nuclear power often to be able to power these servers because they're so high energy that it takes something as powerful as nuclear energy to be able to make it run. Nuclear energy requires a tremendous amount of water to be able to cool um, the infrastructure that it takes to run nuclear energy. And if you want to see your water supply go dry, if you live in that area, you should really consider what that means, because once these infrastructure facilities come into place, you're not going to be able to reverse it. That things aren't going to change. They're not going to be like, oh, our bad. It does take up too much water. Like and way too much power to cool these things. I mean, it's full speed ahead. You need to understand that.
Yeah, especially if it's happening in 10 years. Okay, let's push.
So do you fear then a plausible future where AI in a way becomes itself stagnationist? That it's like highly intelligent, creative in a conformist way. It's like, the Netflix algorithm. It makes infinite okay movies that people watch. It generates infinite okay ideas. It puts a bunch of people out of work and makes them obsolete, but it doesn't, it like deepens stagnation in some way. Is that a fear?
It's
like people just outsource.
It's quite possible that that's certainly a risk, but I guess where I end up is I still think we should be trying AI, and that the alternative is just total stagnation. So yeah, there's sort of all sorts of interesting things going to happen with, okay, maybe drones in a military context are combined with AI, and okay, this is kind of scary or dangerous or dystopian, or it's going to change things. But if you don't have AI,
so that doesn't sound scary at all, right? Drones with AI capabilities.
Well, they're there, honey.
Yeah. So, if there were ever to be any kind of, need for the military to be used in this country, not in overseas, and the convenience of everyone in America just sitting back and life goes on as you know it, as we're bombing other countries. But if there is something that happens in this country, an AI powered drone that knows everything about you, that has a whole database on you, knows everything about your bank account, knows everything about where you live, work, eat, sleep, how long you sleep, who you talk to every day, to be able to send a drone after you. I mean, that's not scary at all, right?
Yeah, it is very.
In addition to that, something else to think about, this big, beautiful bill, I'm sure it was several thousand pages long, as all of the bills are that tend to pass that are highly controversial. Who do you think wrote that? Do you think all these just really brilliant minded lawyers just all got together and just, put pen to paper like they did with our Constitution and wrote the big, beautiful bill? Or do you think that lobbyist companies came and put parcel pieces together, probably written by AI, handed them to a senator's or a congressperson's desk, had them barely read over it, or maybe even use AI to read it for them to give them bullet points about the bill?
Yeah, more than
and then put it in. This is something that, we talk about stagnation or
of course
becoming,
AI is going to prove of AI.
talk about stagnation and things becoming obsolete. How relevant is it to even have all these attorneys who work for us that are now in our government? Because you pretty much have to be an attorney to be a congressman or a senator.
Yeah.
Are their skills even going to be relevant with AI? An AI can write in legalese. AI understands the
I
law
think
better
it's
than an
starting to feel
attorney.
it. Yeah, yeah. Are we going to become obsolete with all of this? Are we even needed? Because AI is going to be able to take over a lot of people's jobs.
We'll talk more about that when we do our robot podcast. I'm just going to plug in because we're gonna do that too.
Yep,
And we're also going to be doing a podcast on CBDCs and stable coins. So
yes, yes. Oh gosh, we can't do that soon enough. Okay.
We are like in almost total stagnation.
But the world of AI is clearly filled with people who, at the very least, seem to have a more utopian, transformative, whatever word you want to call it, view of the technology than you're expressing here, right? And you were mentioned earlier the idea that the modern world used to promise radical life extension and doesn't anymore. It seems very clear to me that a number of people deeply involved in artificial intelligence see it as a kind of mechanism for transhumanism, for transcendence of our mortal flesh, and either some kind of creation of a successor species or some kind of merger of mind and machine. And do you think that's just all?
That's just all. The next point, which is very, very interesting, what he's about to say. But just to put this out there, in case nobody's ever heard of this before about the life extension and
that's what I was wanting to talk about. Yeah,
there are with AI is that there are many transhumanists that exist in Silicon Valley, Ray Kurzweil, various other people that have had these ideas of transcending, a mortality, so to speak, or being able to upload consciousness to the internet, or be able to, even if you do die, you can still continue to live on through your consciousness, or maybe upload your consciousness to an AI that will live in your likeness.
Yep, I've heard all of that. And even from what I knew in the beginning stages of all of this transhumanism, Elon Musk supposedly had some apprehensions with it, from what I thought I heard, but I mean, I wouldn't think so because of Neuralink and things like that. And even like from what I understand, what Stargate is supposed to be, it's supposed to be the cure to cancer because they inject AI does like a prototype and scan over you and out exactly what your body needs to kill the cancer in your body, and then I guess the doctor injects it into your body. So the AI creates this thing, I don't know what it is exactly, and then it gets injected in your body to fight cancer.
That's a possibility, right? Like, I mean, something like, it could use genetic technology and a profile of all of the different data points that one can have, as far as like their physical health, their blood work, their CT scans, their, whatever imaging has been done, what you already know about that person's heart, this and that. And then you take, I mean, just recently, like with 23andMe going bankrupt, people were being able to go into the 23andMe website, and there's an AI profile out there that will go and look at the genetic testing that those people uploaded to the bank of 23andMe, and be able to list all of the potential risks that they have for illness and disease. And if the AI could also figure out the other side of that, which would be, what kind of medication cocktail or serum, I guess you could say, a person could take to be able to try to counteract all of the known disease that person could potentially have.
It's insane.
Acknowledgement that, but for AI, we are like in almost total stagnation.
But the world of AI is clearly filled with people who, at the very least, seem to have a more utopian, transformative, whatever word you want to call it, view of the technology than you're expressing here, right? And you were mentioned earlier the idea that the modern world used to promise radical life extension and doesn't anymore. It seems very clear to me that a number of people deeply involved in artificial intelligence see it as a kind of mechanism for transhumanism, for transcendence of our mortal flesh, and either some kind of creation of a successor species or some kind of merger of mind and machine. And do you think that's just all kind of irrelevant fantasy? Or do you think it's just hype? Do you think people are trying to raise money by pretending that we're going to build a machine god, right? Is it hype? Is it delusion? Is it something you worry about? I think you would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
That's a long pause.
Yeah, the hesitation there is a little strange, huh?
I mean, Cassie, do you prefer the human race to persist?
Yeah, of course I do. I would. And anyone who wouldn't is not somebody I necessarily want involved in our government. I would like to persist.
Yeah.
You worry about. I think you would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
Should the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so transhumanism is this, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. And there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or I don't know, transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your, penis into a vagina. And we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. We want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind.
So when he says we want you to be able to do these things, who's we? That would be the technocratic billionaires that he hangs out with, right?
Right.
I mean, that's we. So we would like for you to not only be able to become a transvestite or become a transsexual, be able to change your sex organs, be able to change your gender, your identity. That's not enough.
Yeah.
We want you to fundamentally be able to change who you are on the inside, your mind, your body, your spirit. That's how far they would like to see that we would like to see this be able to go.
And that, my friend, is taking the place of God. And I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but he talks about scriptures and about.
No, it's coming up.
Okay, but we being who you are, who do you think you are? Why do you think you can play God and change people to the core of who they are? Well, I know why you think that, because you tried and you tested and you played God and you said, wow, I can manipulate the weather. And then you cloned and all kinds of things. So yeah, it makes sense that we think that we can change you to the very core of who you are.
Yeah. I mean, why? I mean, there's only one who is the creator. And so the creator is the one who gave you the mind, the body, the spirit that can't be changed. You can change your clothes, you can change your identity, but you can't change your mind, body, or spirit. Only the creator can do that. And so would we like to be like the creator? Is that the question here?
It is. I believe it is.
We want more transformation than that. We want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way, the critique Orthodox Christianity has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul and you need to transform your whole self. And so,
right. But the other, wait. I generally agree with what I think is your belief that religion should be a friend to science and ideas of scientific progress. I think any idea of divine providence has to encompass the fact that we have progressed and achieved and done things that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors. But it still also seems like, the promise of Christianity in the end is you get the perfected body and the perfected soul through God's grace. And the person who tries to do it on their own with a bunch of machines is likely to end up as a dystopian character.
Let's articulate this.
And you can have a heretical form of Christianity, that says something else.
I don't know. I think the word nature does not occur once in the Old Testament, and so and there is a word a sense in which the way I understand Judeo-Christian inspiration is it is about transcending nature. It is about overcoming things, and the closest thing you can say to nature is that people are fallen. And that's the natural thing in a Christian sense, is that you're messed up. And that's true. But, there's some ways that, with God's help, you are supposed to transcend that and overcome that. And,
right. Present company accepted, most of the people working to build the hypothetical machine god don't think that they're cooperating with Yahweh, Jehovah, the Lord of hosts, They think that they're building immortality
Ross,
on their own.
Yeah,
right?
The critique I was saying is they're not ambitious enough.
Right.
From a Christian point of view, these people are not ambitious enough. Now, then we get into this question: well, are they
not morally and spiritually ambitious enough?
And are they still physically ambitious enough? And are they even still really transhumanists? And this is where, the cryonics thing, that seems like a retro thing from 1999. There isn't that much of that going on. So they're not transhumanists on a physical body. And then, maybe it's not about cryonics. Maybe it's about uploading, which, it's not quite. I'd rather have my body. I don't want just a computer program that simulates me. So that uploading seemed like a step down from cryonics. But then even that's, it's part of the conversation. And this is where it gets very hard to score. And I don't want to say they're all making it up and it's all fake, but I don't think
you think some of it's fake.
I don't think it's fake. Implies people are lying, but it's I want to say it's not the center.
Who wants these things? Who wants cryonics and uploading? And he's trying to say this is somehow intertwined with Christianity.
I know that part. That part didn't even get the interviewer. He's like, wait. Yeah.
Okay, you can continue. I just wanted to point that out there.
I think he's saying we the Christians want it. I'm like, no, we'll have our glorified bodies. Thank you. Oh yeah. But it's a counterfeit, it seems like, for, what the promises of God have for us.
Well, if you don't have that promise, then, you can be a counterfeit or a hireling and try.
Yeah.
There is, there is a cornucopian language. There's an optimistic language. A conversation I had with Elon, a few weeks ago about this was when he said, we're going to have 1 billion humanoid robots in the U.S. in 10 years. And I said, well, if that's true, you don't need to worry about the budget deficits because we're going to have so much growth. The growth will take care of this. And there are a lot of questions that are at an intermediate level of meaning that seem to me to be very important, which is like, does it change the calculus for China invading Taiwan, where, if we have an accelerating AI revolution in the military, is China falling behind? And will this, and maybe on the optimistic side, it deters China because they've effectively lost. And on the pessimistic side, it accelerates them because they know it's now or never. If they don't grab Taiwan now, they will fall behind. And either way, this is more.
There's also a very macroscopic question that you're interested in that, will pull on the religion thread a little bit here. You have been giving talks recently about the concept of the antichrist, which is a Christian concept, an apocalyptic concept. What does that mean to you? What is the antichrist?
How much time do we have?
We've got as much time as you have to talk about the antichrist.
How do we articulate, some of these existential risks, some of the challenges we have? And they're all framed in this sort of runaway dystopian science text. There's a risk of nuclear war. There's a risk of environmental disaster, maybe something specific like climate change, although there are lots of other ones we could come up with. There's a risk of, bioweapons. You have all the different sci-fi scenarios. Obviously, there are certain types of risks with AI. But I always think that if we're going to have this frame of talking about existential risks, perhaps we should also talk about the risk of another type of a bad singularity, which I would describe as the one world totalitarian state. Because I would say the political solution, the default political solution people have for all these existential risks is one world governance. What do you do about nuclear weapons? We have a United Nations with real teeth that controls them.
So people who have these solutions of a one world government, people, and by people he means Silicon Valley people, because one of the big philosophical gurus of Silicon Valley, Curtis Yarvin, talks about this. And we can get into a whole other podcast about Curtis Yarvin, but one of the big things that he pontificates on his blogs that he puts out to his elite buddies that is read by them is this idea of a monarchy, the idea of this country being ran by a CEO, and that there is no longer need for checks and balances. There's no longer need for bureaucracy. He has this whole theory about, it's called his rage theory, that retire all government, I wrote it down, employees, which is, you just saw a rampage of that happen in our government. He has this whole idea of how we should set up this one centralized governance of this country ran by a CEO-like figure. Mm-hmm. So when Peter Thiel is talking about this, like, oh, you know, like the average person just knows what he's talking about, that's what he's talking about. Okay.
With real teeth that controls them, and they're controlled by an international political order. And then something like this, you know, is also you know, what do we do about AI? And we need global compute governance. We need, you know, a one world government to control all the computers, log every single keystroke
to control all the computers. Yeah, that's great.
So let's talk about Palantir and controlling all of the computers and what exactly that means. So Palantir is a data harvesting system that collects data from various points of all over the internet and can create a profile on a potential terrorist or potential country that's a potential threat. But with this new implementation of Palantir with the United States government, it collects data on every person. Oh. So it is going to be, if they are on track to receive the $795 million contract with our government, it will centralize the data of the Department of Human Services. And that may not sound like a big deal, but it also will be the Department of Health and Human Services, which is the department of our government that controls Medicare and Medicaid and every type of government electronic health record, all of that. Social Security data points, the IRS, immigration status, CIA profiles, FBI profiles, NSA profiles, Department of Defense, your bank account, your daily things that you do, logging keystrokes on your computer, logging into your job, all of this.
Sounds like social credit score.
Well, it's social credit score takes it to another level. Palantir is the data collection computer system that pulls from all these streams, and then whatever they choose to do in the next step is another point. And we can definitely get to that. I think we definitely need to do a podcast on stable coins, because it ties this all to stable coins.
Yep. Okay.
But that is why it is really the meat of why Palantir being intertwined with our government is terrifying.
Right. Agreed.
How does the antichrist take over the world? He gives these demonic, hypnotic speeches, and people just fall for it. And so it's this plot hole. It's this daemonium.
It's totally, it's implausible.
It's a very implausible plot hole.
Right.
But I think we have an answer to this plot hole. The way the Antichrist would take over the world is you talk about Armageddon nonstop. You talk about existential risk nonstop. And this is what you need to regulate. It's the opposite of the picture of the 18th century where...
Okay.
You talk about Armageddon nonstop. You talk about these things happening nonstop. This is the thing that we need to regulate. So it's the free speech of the people who are talking about things that pertain to biblical scenarios that needs to be regulated, but definitely not a system that collects data on every single person, able to pinpoint that together for a centralized government authority figure. That's all good, right?
Yeah, that doesn't need any regulation. It's wild. And then where he said it's either Antichrist or Armageddon. And it's like you said, it's not one or the other, it's both. Like the Bible purely speaks on Armageddon, but also that the Antichrist, will be there, part of Armageddon, ushering in Armageddon.
I think what he's doing is he's trying to mix folklore that is in like Left Behind type movies and things like that with actual, like, trying to, marry that with the Bible, which there's some truth to those things, but his knowledge base is coming from movies and cultural ideas, not from the actual scriptures.
Right.
Evil tech genius, evil scientist who invents this machine to take over the world. People are way too scared for that. In our world, the thing that has political resonance is the opposite. It is the thing that has political resonance is we need to stop science. We need to just say stop to this. And this is where, I don't know, in the 17th century, I can imagine a Dr. Strangelove, Edward Teller type person taking over the world. In our world, it's far more likely to be Greta Thunberg.
Okay, I want to suggest a middle ground between those two options. It used to be that the reasonable fear of the Antichrist was a kind of wizard of technology. And now the reasonable fear is someone who promises to control technology, make it safe, and sort of usher in what, from your point of view, would be a kind of universal stagnation, right?
Well, it's more, that's more my description of how it would happen.
Right.
So I think people still have a fear of a 17th century Antichrist.
Yes.
We're still scared of Dr. Strangelove.
Right, but you're saying the real Antichrist would play on that fear and say, you must come with me to avoid Skynet, to avoid the Terminator, to avoid nuclear Armageddon.
Yes.
And I guess my view would be, looking at the world right now, that you would need a certain kind of novel technological progress to make that fear concrete, right? So I can buy that the world could turn to someone who promised peace and regulation if the world became convinced that AI was about to destroy everybody, right? But I think to get to that point, you need one of the accelerationist apocalyptic scenarios to start to play out, right? To get your peace and safety Antichrist, you need more technological progress. Like, one of the key failures of totalitarianism in the 20th century was it had a problem of knowledge. It couldn't know what was going on all over in the world, right? So you need the AI or whatever else to be capable of helping the peace and safety totalitarian rule. So don't you think you need your worst case scenario to involve some burst of progress that is then tamed and used to impose stagnant totalitarianism? You can't just get there from where we are right now.
Well, it can
like Greta Thunberg's on a boat in the Mediterranean, right? Like protesting Israel. Like I just don't see the promise of safety from AI, safety from tech, even safety from climate change right now as a powerful, universal rallying cry.
He's not wrong there, because he goes to these symposiums like the World Economic Forum and
right.
These backdoor meetings that, commoners like us would never be able to attend. And he knows that this is the topic of du jour there. The topic du jour, the topic of the day there.
Which he mentioned 3 things. He's in China, and then the environment. And then he mentioned Islam too. I do think those are 3 main, threats to the end. But yeah.
And it is possible that there could be this charismatic figure that comes along and says, hey, all this stuff is getting to be way too out of control. The promise that I make to you is that I'm going to rein it all in.
Saying, okay, environmentalism is already pro-stagnation and so on. Okay, let's agree with all that. But we're not living under we're not living under the Antichrist right now. We're just stagnant, right? And you're positing that something worse could be on the horizon that would make stagnation permanent, that would be driven by fear. And I'm suggesting that for that to happen, there would have to be some burst of technological progress that was akin to Los Alamos that people are afraid of. And I guess this is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe. But is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of...
I'm totally not building a beast system. I'm not.
I'm just trying to get you to think about the lady on the boat. Not me building the beast system back here. It's like Wizard of Oz. It's not me hiding behind the curtain. It's not me.
Yeah. Look over there. Greta Thunberg is going to Palestine on a boat and having to have people feed her a sandwich. Like that's super scary. I'm totally not building the beast system over here
with
at
my
all.
Surveillance, with my data analyst. Yeah. Right.
Sure.
So preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted to the FDA regulates not just drugs in the U.S., but de facto in the whole world, because the rest of the world defers to the FDA. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission effectively regulates nuclear power plants all over the world. People, you can't design a modular nuclear reactor and just build it in Argentina. They won't trust the Argentinian regulators. They're going to defer to the U.S. And so it's at least a question about why we've had 50 years of stagnation. And one answer is we ran out of ideas. The other answer is that something happened culturally where it wasn't allowed. And then the cultural answer can be sort of a bottom-up answer, that it was just some transformation of humanity into this sort of more docile kind of a species. Or it can be at least partially top-down, that there is this, this machinery of government that got changed into this stagnations thing. I think something like this, nuclear power was supposed to be the power of the 21st century, and it somehow has gotten off-ramped all over the world on a worldwide basis.
So in a sense, we're already living under a moderate rule of the Antichrist in that telling. Do you think God is in control of history?
Man, this is again like I think that
Christian, by the way.
I know.
I think there's always
I
room
know
for
he
human
does.
freedom
It's hilarious. Do you
and-
think
and
God's in
human
control?
choice. These things are, or at least
I
where
mean,
we are
most
today,
Christians'
these things are,
first answer is yes, God's in control.
They're not. They're not
Sorry, I'm gonna snort loud.
absolutely predetermined one way or
We're
another.
3 minutes left.
But God wouldn't leave us forever under the rule of a mild, moderate, stagnationist Antichrist, right? That can't be how the story ends, right?
It's attributing too much causation to God is always a problem. If I don't know, there are different Bible verses I can give you, but I'll give you John 15:25, where Christ says, "They hated me without cause," and so it's all these people that are persecuting Christ have no reason, no cause for why they're persecuting Christ. And if we interpret this as a ultimate causation verse, they want to say, I'm persecuting because God caused me to do this. God is causing everything. And the Christian view is anti-Calvinist. God is not behind history. God is not causing everything. If you say God's causing everything,
you're scapegoating God. But God is behind. But God is behind Jesus Christ entering history because God was not going to leave us in a stagnationist, decadent Roman Empire, right? So at some point, God is going to step in.
I am not
right?
I am not that Calvinist, and
that's not Calvinism, though. That's just Christianity. God will not leave us eternally, staring into screens and being lectured by Greta Thunberg, right? He will not abandon us to that fate.
Just have some yoga and prayerful meditation and wait while the lions eat you up. And I don't think that's what you're supposed to do.
I agree with that. And I think on that note, I'm just trying to be hopeful and suggesting that, in trying to resist the Antichrist, using your human freedom, you should have hope that you'll succeed, right?
We can agree on that.
We'll agree on that.
Peter Thiel.